Hi, my loves. Welcome to this Instagram live and podcast recording. I wanted to share what was on my heart to share this week as another Instagram live podcast, and with it being the last week before the sisterhood doors close, and the doors are closing for the last time this year, so they won't open again until January, which feels like so far away right now. I wanted to chit chat about creating your dream life, living your own vision of success, and really some lessons and stories that I've learned on this topic, because when it comes to goal setting and manifestation, so many people come to me and say, I am struggling with clarity on what I want to do, like what my next steps are. And maybe some of you resonate with that. Or often they'll also say, I know what I want to do, but I'm not doing it. I know what I want to do, but I'm scared to really go for it and take that leap. And I think so many of us from a young age are conditioned to want something, and it only, gets to in our 30s or 40s and 50s, even 60s, 70s, right? And all of a sudden, one day you wake up and realize that you've created something based on someone else's definition of success. And I think this topic, defining your version of success, is so important when it comes to goal setting, because if you don't know this, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you value, what is the most important thing to you, then you can very easily end up 5 years time, 10 years time, 20 years time thinking, do I actually want this, or did I think that I should want this? Was I told to want this? Was I taught to want this? And of course, in this day and age as well, where everyone gets access to other people's representations of success, right? Other people's announcements on social media. Someone's got engaged, someone's got a new job, someone's been promoted, someone's business is doing really well, someone's moved into such and such location where they live. Everyone is now also displaying what is, I hope so, what is their version of success. And we have this daily snapshot of these tick box items on our to-do list, if you will. And it varies culture to culture what those things are. And it varies in families. In your family, you might have been conditioned or encouraged, or maybe even directly pushed into doing something that in another family they weren't, but they were pushed into doing something else. And there's so many examples of this. I was watching Tyson Fury's reality show on Netflix recently with Adam. I don't know whether any of you in the UK have watched it. If you're listening to the podcast or listening to the replay of this live, they are obviously from a travelers community, and in that community it's encouraged for young girls to basically not go to school and instead learn from a certain age, and basically learn a trade or learn household, housekeeping jobs, and basically like how to run a household, because in that culture, that their version of success is for a girl to, you know, find a husband and get married. In my upbringing, it was very much encouraged to go to a really good university, get a great degree, and get a really like solid, supportive, what's the other word I'm looking for? Like, basically like safe, contracted, you know, prestigious job with prospects for promotion. And I think many people in the UK especially, and you know, probably the US as well, I'm sure, it's like very much go to college, go to uni, get good grades. That like modern Western view of success is quite linear as well. But of course, all this to say that so many of us are, from a young age, kind of predisposed, if you will, to what is success. You know, what is success in my family? What will make my mum and dad proud? Or what will deem me to be great? You know, I've done well, like good girl. Good girl, like gold star. And when you think about it, these little girls grow up to have this imprint of a definition of success. And then of course, as we grow up, we then are also influenced by other people's imprints of success on social media. And that's why you can end up like in your, you know, 20s, mid-20s, 30s, 40s, 50s thinking, oh, actually, I don't think I want to do that anymore. And something that I will always encourage with my clients and with my students, with my members, with the women that I work with, is defining your version of success. Because if you don't know what success means to you, then you end up on that linear path that's been laid out for you. And that's when you get into these tricky situations where you are burning out because you're pushing yourself to do something that your soul, like your heart and soul, actually doesn't want to do. And there is a learning process to this as well, because sometimes you need to do something that you don't want to do in order to figure out that you don't want to do it. And I've certainly learned that in some of the examples I'm going to share. But what I always encourage when you like come into my world and you set goals, so for example, every month in the sisterhood we'd have manifest your goals calls. Every month that is you checking in with you, your goals, your success, what you want to focus on in the next month, in the next season of your life. And it's wild that is quite a rebellious and like revolutionary concept to so many people still, because they might be in that manifesto goals call writing down, I want to leave my job, or I want to get this really high paying role in this completely new industry, or I want to sell my belongings and go and travel the world, or even something small to the outside world that feels huge to them, like I want to start going to like pole dancing classes or something. The women in those calls, you know, sitting and saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to achieve this, I'm claiming my desire for that. That is still pretty revolutionary in society. And the reason they are able to do that, of course, they're receiving that support, they're showing up to that call, but they're being encouraged to create their dream life, not what their parents wanted them to do, not what their culture shows them is successful, but what they want to do. And I want to share some examples from my journey in figuring out and defining my own version of success as well. So the first example I have, and I'm just going to talk like as candid and honestly as I can, because I've learned so much on this topic along the way. The first example I have is traveling the world and essentially like this digital nomad lifestyle. And this is one example of the culture and the community you surround yourself with has its own like ecosystem for what is hierarchical, right? Like what is success? What is, who's doing better than other people is like the underlying tone of it, if you will. And in the online business world in general, because I'm sure many other industries in the online business world have this, certainly with coaching and like online educators, if you will, that laptop lifestyle, like living in Bali, working on the beach, working from anywhere in the world, always being on a flight, that is one example of what is deemed successful, certainly in my industry. So in my world, in my work, in my business, in my business's industry. And that's not for me. That really is not for me. And the reason I'm using this as an example is, to be really honest, it took me a long time to fucking own that shit and to say, this is my version of success and that looks very different to that. And I remember a moment years ago having a conversation with another coach at some event, and she was, I think I was asking her about where she was traveling to or something, and she was like, oh, where are you traveling to next? Like, where are you going next? And I was just like, oh, I just staying in Manchester, like just staying home in Manchester for the rest of the year. I think I said something like that. And I remember coming back from that conversation and thinking, should I be absolutely buzzing to be like booking flights every 2 seconds and always on the go, always traveling to some hot, like fancy exotic location? Should I be, because this is another thing as well, again, should I be disliking and complaining about living in the UK? Because that's what so many other people around me in that community are saying. And for a good while, I was building my version of success, because it's not like I was doing anything drastic in that area. I wasn't like forcing myself to like go and live somewhere else. Obviously, it was lockdown. This was coming out of lockdown anyway. But for a while, like I almost felt like I was questioning my own desire with that, because I was questioning, should I want that? Should I want to travel more? Should I feel dissatisfied living in the same place that I grew up in? Because so many other people do. And almost then this rhetoric of that being limiting. So that, making that decision being a limiting thing, where someone is not allowing themselves to expand and like experience life to the fullest if they don't do that. And I'm sure you will have an example of that too, where you don't want to do something that other people are like questioning why you don't want to do it, and are like, are you actually happy? Are you really happy like not doing that? I guess, you know, and that could be questioning a woman because she's single, or questioning a woman because she doesn't have kids yet, or maybe has said she doesn't want kids, or questioning a woman who, I don't know, like wants to work a standard full-time retail job, and someone's like, oh, do you not like want to do something different? And she's like, no, like I'm just happy doing this job because I like who I work with, and I just do it to pay the bills so that I can save up money to go traveling. And it's like, so many people have these examples where what you are doing, what you are desiring, other people wouldn't choose that for themselves. And my biggest lesson with that area of my life was, when I own my desire and when I own my version of success, I confidently stand by my decisions. Because if I was to be continuing to question myself with that decision and feel less than for having made that decision because it wasn't what was being shown to me as the definition of success, I would have continued to feel insecure about it. And I probably would have attracted, right, and manifested experiences where people questioned me on it. Whereas now, when I like really confidently say how much I love living in the northwest of the UK, and how like I could almost like roll my eyes at what people saying like, you know, how shit it must be that I live in the northwest of the UK because it's always raining, or what, you know, no one has ever like actually directly said that, but you get that feeling sometimes when you are doing something that goes the opposite way of what someone's definition of success is, right? You get that feeling that they're like looking at you thinking, is this person actually happy? Like they're almost questioning it. That's like water off a duck's back to me now, because I love where I live. And don't get me wrong, I love a holiday. I love going away. I love traveling. I love exploring. But I am get on the plane, go explore for a few days, be away for a week, and come home to Manchester. Like, that is me, and that's what I want. And when you own your version of success, you can be confidently creating it without this external noise kind of permeating your mind and making you question yourself, or making you not go all in on your version of success because you think that you're supposed to be over here doing this. So that was a huge lesson I learned with that particular thing about, travel and where I live. The second story that I have is when I decided to basically completely pivot away from a certain area of my business towards what I do now. And maybe you've done this yourself. Maybe you've started to question what you do in a certain role or in a certain company, in a certain industry, whatever it is, and you're almost getting to a point where you're like, this isn't feeling aligned, this isn't feeling right, this isn't feeling like me. And that might be because, of a multitude of reasons. For me, the story is like, I used to offer business coaching. I used to run a business group program. I used to take on clients one-to-one purely to help them in their business with mindset, but also with business strategy. And I guess the business coaching was at the forefront, and then the mindset and the work that I do, and focus on fully now was like behind the scenes. And it's so funny because now it's like completely flipped, and I'll talk about that. But I did that for so long because, again, I thought that was how you created and built a successful coaching business. And I know the majority of my audience are not coaches, so that full example won't be relevant to you, but so many people listening will have an example of their own where in your industry, in your line of work, it's shown that if you want to earn a lot of money, if you want to be successful, if you want to get yourself to a certain position, this is what you need to do. Like these are the requirements, if you will. And when I look back, I realized that was absolutely, that part of my work came from my own passion, but I also almost felt like I didn't have a choice in the matter either way, because if I wanted to be successful, that's what I needed to do. And the lesson is like realizing that whilst that for many people has been the case, that doesn't need to be the case for me. Because what I realized is the work that I was doing was fantastic. I was working with amazing clients, but I wasn't fully tapping into their potential because I wasn't doing the work that I am here to do. It was almost like, because I was following this linear path of what I should do to be successful, I was like putting a lid on my purpose and my magic and my skill, and coming up against friction where clients wanted me to tell them, like, do this in your business. And I was almost seeing that happening and sharing that, but then seeing like them not taking that action and realizing that they weren't taking that action because of their mindset or because of their trauma or their unconscious blocks and, all the things that I talk about now, all the things that I focus on now. And the lesson there is trust your fucking gut when it comes to creating your version of success, because whilst other people might have done it a certain way, that does not mean that is going to be the right way for you. There might be a status quo in your industry, in your line of work, or in your community. This is how to be successful. This is the path you go on. This is the job role you take on. Then you have to do this. Then you have to do this. Blah, 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 blah. just because that is the case doesn't mean it needs to be the case for you. And when I owned that, again, all these stories contained a period of reflection, of sitting in the discomfort that I knew something wasn't right, and not making myself feel wrong for that, and owning that it didn't feel right, and not just blindly following down the same path just because. It didn't happen overnight for the majority of things, if anything. What I often find is that when it comes to defining your version of success, if you are feeling stuck or sticky or like not sure, if you're lacking clarity, 9 times out of 10, it's your thoughts, it's your limiting beliefs, it's your ego that is like running the show, that is driving the decisions that you're making, your fears, your trauma in many cases, your conditioning. Those are the things that are running the show of this vision of success, because you want the validation from it, or you want to make your family proud, or whatever the case might be. But your higher self, like your soul, your heart and soul, is quieter and can take tender, loving care to like really hear and sit with. And for me, even someone with such a really strong, deep connection with their intuition, for these big decisions, it sometimes has taken me a few months of feeling out of alignment and just sitting in that messy middle of it before that clarity hits, before the intuition is heard. And then I'm like, right, okay, this is why I don't feel fulfilled in this area, because this is going against this value, or this is my version of success over here, and I'm over here doing something completely different from that. And I think the biggest piece of advice I can give for anyone who feels stuck in maybe the decision they've made, maybe the vision of success they thought they wanted, my best piece of advice is to just be with that discomfort. Because the fact that you are listening, the fact that you are feeling it, the fact that you are being with it means you're so much further ahead than you think. Because sadly, so many people will go through their entire career or entire marriages or entire decades of living in one area or whatever it is that is out of alignment for that person, and they will have the nudge, they will have that niggling feeling inside of them that something is not right, and they will push it down and they will ignore it. So if you're feeling that niggle, something's not right, but you don't know what right is, what the next step is, please allow yourself to sit in that and sit with that. That is the biggest lesson I learned from that pretty big pivot I made in my career, in my business last year. And I feel like another thing with your version of success is that once you make a certain change, the irony is, even though on the external things can look very different to what you thought was successful or what is deemed successful, you can feel like a fucking rock star. You can feel like $1 million. You can feel like the most successful person in the world. And let me tell you, when I shifted out of that and shifted towards what I really want to do, I felt incredibly successful, despite earning less for a period of time, despite basically, finishing with clients, closing down a section of my business. I didn't obviously start a whole from scratch because I've always done personal development, but I basically shut down an entire section of my business, like an entire revenue stream. And, I've had clients where they've literally just walked out of a job and been done with it. And you can make those decisions. And even though other people around you are like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you stressed? You can be like, I'm good, I'll figure it out. Because that's the beauty of defining your version of success and knowing the path that you are headed on, and knowing that you are the main character, you are the director, you have made that choice. That choice hasn't been made for you. When you feel that alignment, there is this sense of trust that comes through where you're okay with society thinking that you're taking a side step or a back step. You're okay with that because to you, it's like a giant leap forward. And that is what I want for every single woman. And it doesn't matter, like I said, this could be your career we're talking about. This could be your business. This could also be where you live. This could also be who you hang around with. Your version of success could also include stepping away from relationships. That's another example I jotted down. Success isn't just about what you do for work, isn't just about your job role. So in the sisterhood, in my one-to-one coaching, in my work, when we're looking at your goals, we're not just thinking of that, right, what is impressive? What's an impressive achievement that we can push you to do this year? No. This is about your life, your one precious life, and what makes you happy. What makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning because you're so grateful to live in that area, or you're so grateful to have that particular person in your life, or you're so grateful to have moved away from that toxic situation you were in, that work environment, those friendships, that relationship, whatever it is. Success is not just about the work that you do. And if you currently find yourself feeling like it is, and feeling like when you're setting goals, you're only ever setting professional goals, again, that's another sign that you might need to take a step back. I highly recommend you either join the sisterhood or work with me in some capacity, because we need to do what I would describe as a life MOT. What's going on? Where are you unhappy? What do you want to change? What's truly gonna light you up? What are you craving more of? What would make you smile when you woke up tomorrow morning if you knew that that was your life? Because whatever the answer to that is, you need to run after that, screaming with glee and excitement, manifesting that. And so your next steps, if you're finding yourself here and thinking, oh my God, I either don't know what my version of success is, or I know but I'm not doing it. I know I'm not going all in on it. I know I'm not pursuing my dream life. You can get inside the sisterhood, or if you need like more bespoke healing support, you can work with me one-to-one. Depends on which one is gonna fit better for you. I'm always available in my DMs to chat, like no obligation, no stress, no pressure, just answering your questions, chatting about your situation, what you want support with. From there I can suggest what's going to be best for you. But the sisterhood doors are open until the 2nd of October, and then they will close for the rest of the year. They will not open again until January. And I am certainly of the mindset that why the fuck would you wait until the 1st of January to start building your dream life? Don't do that. Don't feel like you need to do that, because you don't. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Capricorn. My birthday is on the 14th of January. You will catch me in January like jumping and dancing around my office, like, you know, wanting people to join the sisterhood, wanting people to set goals, etc. But that doesn't mean that you can't just get in now, like, and start now. Because if you start now, by Christmas or by Hanukkah, by the holiday season, whatever you celebrate, by the end of the year, you will be in a completely different spot that you're in now. Or you can do nothing, ignore that nudge, ignore that niggle that is telling you want to make a change, and think, oh well, at least I can start on the 1st of January. And there's no wrong or right answer, but the choice is yours at the end of the day. So, like I said, your next steps are, if you want to work together, either the sisterhood or one-to-one, in terms of getting started in September, getting started in October, I should say, if you want to do one-to-one work. The sisterhood includes, on this topic, my Light Up Level Up starter course, which is a mini course designed for you to go through within 4 weeks of joining. And basically that means your first month inside the membership is really strategic, really guided, really structured around my Light Up Level Up method, which includes creating your vision, it includes healing the roots, it includes connecting to trust, so connecting to your intuition, and lighting up, you know, shining your light in the world. So obviously today we're talking about creating your version of success. A lot of that is going to be covered inside of the Create Your Vision module of that course, week of that course. And that week includes my goal setting framework. So literally, where do you want to be? What do you want? What are you craving? And then from there, in terms of live, like ongoing monthly support, we have Manifest Your Goals calls every month under the new moon, as much as I can, as much as I can schedule them. But whether they're on the new moon or not, regardless, you have one of those live every month, or you can access the replay. And those calls, that's like your monthly anchor into that vision that you've built, into that vision that you've written down on paper. So, okay, you want to be here in 12 months? Amazing. What are you doing this month to move forward with that? What habits do you need? What action are you taking? How are you supporting yourself? That level of accountability and support is probably the number one favourite thing that members talk about in terms of that call, like keeps me going every month. It's literally like group coaching almost in a membership platform. So that is like the tangible things to access if you are joining in the next couple of weeks to get started with that mini course that's inside the membership. And then we literally had our Manifest Your Goals call last night at the time I'm doing this live, so you can listen to the latest one and get started straight away. It's a no-brainer. It's less than £1.50 a day. It is an absolute bargain, the most accessible way to work with me, and I would love you to join us. I'd love you to become a member if you're interested. So if you have any questions, let me know in the DMs, and if you are listening to the podcast, you need is in my bio, or you can DM me if you want to ask any questions, and I can send you the link from there if needed. So have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you next week with another Instagram live or podcast episode.